This is episode 21, and this video is the review for it. Just for an FYI, the season finale of season 6 is going to come out soon. I would assume that it would be in its original language, so either Portuguese or French dub. I will be watching it, but I will wait for just a few days in case the English version does also release at a similar time, and I want to review that. But yeah, season finale should be around like May 31st. Without further ado, let's review the final episode that we just need to catch up with until the season finale. So yeah, here we go. It's a very short, cold opening, like even more so, and it still has music, so it's not the first without music, but it's one of the very shorter ones. And yeah, we actually see Nino's parents for the first time. They look almost nothing like it, but like they're the way. If you're wondering why they look so different, for one thing, the mother is similar to their skin tone. If you're wondering about that, this is just the lighting. So the lighting just kind of made her very much lighter than usual. But yeah, this is when they were happy, and this jar here is their jar of wishes. We do get a short time skip to modern day, and we see that there's a lot of stuff covering this wish jar, meaning that they never actually did anything with it throughout the years of being together. That's kind of sad. But going back to this point in time is when Nino was still in the belly. Yeah, he's still developing. Yeah, I cannot get a real good screenshot, but Cat Noir, Ladybug, Rena Rouge, and Carapace all finished the mission just last night, which was this night here, and they all returned home to basically in like very early in the morning. It looks like Marinette always falls into a basket full of laundry in the morning, which is just kind of funny to be honest, but this just might be her daily routine, unfortunately. We do get to see what Aya's family is doing in the morning as well. It does seem like Nora's the only one who actually gone out to work earlier before anybody else, or maybe Nora just kind of, is living by herself, which I think has already been stated that she is, I think earlier in the series. Although Nino's morning wasn't really so cheery. When he came home, he can hear his parents arguing, and by their discussion through the subtitles, of course. But you can hear their arguments like really loud. The arguments like really loud, and they seem pretty angry with each other. And it does seem like one was trying to talk to them while the other one is just really busy with their clients and cannot find a schedule to actually discuss stuff. Nino heard this, if you can see by his face, and concerning that he just feels nonchalant about this, means that this has been going on for a really, really long time. So he just puts on his headphones and then he just kind of just walks out to the dining room, Miles Morales style. I guess if Disney's gotta do something, they gotta do a homage to Miles, right? The argument seems that their dad really wants to go somewhere for a trip while the mother is just too busy with work, and they're kind of just angrily arguing with this, not really getting to any leeway on their really what they want, as one wants to enjoy their life, wants to do something with their life because they have been doing nothing but working for the past couple decades. While the mother is just really busy ever since, her work got much more, frequent visitors. She just needs time to actually like handle them all, but she can't really discuss or really just have any time to relax, unfortunately. The argument was pretty bad that I think like Nino's little brother just doesn't really feel hungry anymore. I think he kind of got fed up with this argument because it's just kind of losing his appetite. Of course, it's a strawberry jam slice, but Nino here says he's not a big fan of strawberries. That will come into a point later, sooner or later. But we now know that Nino doesn't like strawberries or at least anything strawberry related. Of course, he had his headphones on, but surprisingly, he can just hear what his little brother is saying, even though it's kind of like full blast and noise canceling with depending on these headphones. But I guess he just kind of knows the body language. We got a little bit more discussion, insight with the argument that these two parents have. Of course, after that, the mother just kind of went back to her client as they put the client on hold. Don't worry, the client didn't really hear all that argument. Hopefully. At the very least, it seems like both their parents are pretty much very nice to their kids, just not to each other. If you notice the pattern, I think you know where this could have lead up to, and you know what the episode is kind of about. We cut back to school with Nino basically in his secret hiding place blowing his bubbles. If you don't remember, back in season 1, to handle stress, Nino blows bubbles because they're fun and kind of relaxing. He is watching out the window, seeing his little brother play with his friends, just kind of getting along. And kind of deep down, we already know that Nino wished that his parents can be the same. Of course, that's when Aya came in just to, hang out with him, kind of like usual. And this place is both their secret meeting spot at this point in time. I think it used to be Nino's, but now since Aya's his girlfriend, makes sense. Good to see that Nora is still working in the cafeteria, but it might seem like she's about to get ready to go, as I think from the... Which episode was that? To be honest, because of the weird episode lineup at this point and it's kind of jumbled at the second half of the season, I don't remember which episode is which at this point. I think two episode reviews ago, or 3, I think, that Nora was about to leave. It's seeming that she's not leaving yet, so we can only assume that at least a few days have passed by and she's about to leave soon, I guess. Or maybe she already did left and it's been like a few months already. Who knows? Very hard to tell. The timeline is kind of screwy right now, thanks Disney. Thanks to Nora and Twig, they made strawberry smoothies as a special treat in the cafeteria. Aya likes strawberries. And as you can tell, Nino is really trying to like it for Aya's sake, so they like the same things. To be honest, Nino, I feel like they're just kind of writing Nino as a nerfed and more normal version of Marinette, which, to be honest, is technically the dynamic that they had with Nino for a while already. That was before he had his own personality, of course, which is actually pretty fine, but kind of funny to see that he has a similar mindset to Marinette. Marinette and Adrian came by, and they went to sit down, but they have a quote-unquote argument about what to name their hamster. Of course, it's not anything like with anger or stuff like that. Nino thought that they're really they're not getting along because of this, but both Marinette and Adrian reassure to both of them that, well, they're just discussing, just kind of debating. They're not really going all out, being angry with just this hamster. While Nino did say you can just get as many hamsters you want to name, so that way none of them get left out. But Marinette's we just want to get one, or just to start, which makes sense. She's no rush to buy too many hamsters. Nino, unfortunately, was not really convinced and asked Aya to actually come with him to discuss something. Nino was basically worried about Marinette and Adrian kind of maybe just breaking up because of this argument, but Aya reassures him that this is not super serious that they would actually break up for or something like that. But Nino was just worried that they get divorced, which Aya in turn knows that this isn't about them, it's about your parents, and Nino doesn't really want to discuss all this. So yeah. And then Nino came up with a crazy plan. He wants to actually give Adrian and Marinette their Miraculous so they can actually be superheroes for a day and be closer together, since they're so perfect together already. Maybe this will solidify and they don't want to break up. Aya said that this was a bad idea, as Ladybug is the one who basically is in charge with giving the Miraculous away anyway, so they would need permission. So Nino did want to just call Ladybug right there and then, but Aya's like, we should have talked to them first before Ladybug to just get stuff ready, but Nino's just kind of rushing it. Ladybug got the call, and then she basically Marinette told Adrian just that she gotta go, like to the restroom. But they'll talk about the hamster name, later. But they're still pretty happy with each other, so it's not seem that serious. Ladybug was kind of confused as to why like Nino Carapace would call her if there was a comatized villain, because she would have seen it because they were just away for like a few seconds by that time, or a few minutes. But apparently she sees that both Rena and Carapace are together, so she actually went out to find them. Marinette, Ladybug came in and actually asked them. And of course, Rena Rouge is, pretty just agitated with Nino's idea, and told Nino that it was his idea, that it was your idea, so you just have to tell her. And make sure you said it's your idea. That's kind of what her body language is telling. Let me see if I've got a screenshot here. Yep, pretty much. And of course, giving Ladybug the eye, basically just kind of try to help her convince Carapace here that this was a bad idea to give Marinette and Adrian the Miraculous. Ladybug says, yeah, that was a bad idea. And he's like, why? Well, here's the thing. They're both pretty busy people. And, all that stuff. And Carapace is like, well, you think that maybe Adrian is a stuck-up, like, rich person, and Marinette is just like, too clumsy and does Marinette things, and, But trust me, they're pretty much, like, very competent people, and they're not just friends to everybody. They're role models, perfect examples of, who to actually be and stuff like that. Now, to be honest, you can make the argument to Nino that they're not as perfect as they could be, or very good role models. But the thing is that we, the audience, already know that Marinette and Adrian are not exactly the perfect role models for anybody. But in terms of in-universe, they pretty much are. Not as Ladybug Cat Noir, just as Marinette and Adrian. Marinette's really kind and actually is really understanding towards people, of course. And Adrian is exactly the same. Good people at heart. There's nothing really wrong with that. I think the only reason why people do not agree with Nino here is just because we already know what Adrian and Marinette are. Marinette is a bit too crazy in terms of love, but to be honest, she has gone past that already. And as for Adrian, well, to be honest, there's nothing really to argue against Adrian. Maybe just being a little too naive at times, of course. But that's just kind of being optimistic in a way. So yeah, I do agree with Nino that they're pretty good. And this actually flatters Marinette. Ladybug, yeah. So like, well, if you put it that way, I guess it could be a good idea. She didn't say yes, but Nino took it as a yes. So like, yeah, let's give them a Miraculous right now. Aya really wants to know that this isn't like, because like you're not really like giving me the full story here. Could you just like explain to me about this? Like, this is more so about your parents, and you don't want to see anybody like going through the same thing or something like that. But Nino just like we'll just give like our friends a Miraculous. He's just kind of head start on that. So yeah, it is definitely just about his parents. But Nino just wants to make sure that this does not happen to anybody else that he knows. Aya talked to Marinette alone and all about this stuff. Told at least Marinette everything she knows about Nino's situation at home. And while Marinette's like, I should just say no then, right? But Aya's like, you should say yes. Just say yes. That's kind of about it. Because this is very important for Nino. And Marinette, while very confused, is going along with Aya's plan. Now, this is a really confusing part, as I do think that it is possible that Ladybug told Cat Noir about maybe having these two new stand-ins. So Adrian kind of just got the message, because he is Cat Noir, but nobody knows that. Remember that, okay? So yeah, Black seems like just kind of teasing, but he does have a make a good point that if you are forced to use the Turtle Miraculous and then get the fuse with the Black Cat Miraculous, that would actually reveal your secret identity possibly because Adrian's gonna get the turtle, but nobody knows what the war is. If the two miraculous fuse, then yeah, the secret identity is out. But Adrian's like, I got this. While Adrian's about to leave, Nino runs in and then told him about being a superhero and stuff like that. Yeah, coincidence. So apparently we have a little bit more intel about the subway. The subway basically is a secret hideout for the miraculous team basically. Ladybug, Cat Noir, and the rest of the miraculous users that Ladybug gave. This is basically their secret lair, or in case just training gym, stuff like that. They repurpose an abandoned subway tunnel for them to actually practice their powers and hone in their moves. We will never see this place again. Possibly. Yeah, we actually never seen this place again. This place only showed up twice, which is kind of funny to be honest. Now, both Adrian and Marinette, they both got their blindfolds on, but they're just kind of playing along because they know the place. Marinette most likely is trying her hardest to actually act surprised because she really knows about all this. Adrian knows about all this too, but he has a very much easier time because nobody knows his secret identity fully, and while Marinette's trying to play it out for Aya. As the Kwamis meet their new owners, Marinette has to try her hardest to not be so casual and try to be surprised. As for Adrian, it was kind of nonchalant. They transform. Adrian got a pretty good look actually. No hood, but this is actually a really good look on him. And to be honest, he just looks like another person, I guess. But if I'm gonna really be honest, I mean he doesn't look bad. But it kind of makes him I feel like the hairstyle reminds me of a bit more like Captain America, I guess. But do you think he just kind of reminds you about one of the Krat brothers? Honestly, it's kind of weird. We see Marinette transform, and to be honest, it's really simple looking. I'm guessing if you have to use the older design, you have to use something like this. If you guys didn't notice, this is technically the same type of the base design as I think Volpina. But yeah, to be honest, this is the default design for the Fox Miraculous, so this is what her mind came up first, I guess. Kind of plain and normal. To be honest, we already know that the Miraculous do reflect the person's personality at that time. So I think Marinette just trying to be plain and normal, so the suit's plain and normal. And then it's time for both of them to test their moves. Rena Duret, basically, that's her name. And as for Adrian's new name, is basically Trionyx. Huh. Supposed to be Genius Turtle, Brain Turtle, basically. At least that's what I remember. I don't have another screenshot that explains his explanation for this name, sadly. Then we get to see a first-person view, the POV of Marinette, basically just training with her new powers, quote unquote, with Adrian, and they're really having a good time. It's almost like this is not their first time, wink wink. But to be honest, they're just really elated to actually be together, be superheroes together. Nino's really happy that they're actually getting along really well and working together really, really well, just like them. Both Marinette and Adrian are having a very good time, and they wish that this moment will never end, because this is basically their reaction if they were actually together. Of course, we already know what would happen if these two know their secret identities, but since they don't need to hide their secret identities in this moment in time, yeah, they work really well, really happy with each other, and all that. Of course, they have to still put up, both of them have to still put up the act that they don't know what to do really, because they know that Nino's watching and Alya's watching, basically. Unfortunately, there were some trouble up ahead. It's Yakumatai's villains. We have a heart pot that's chained in the middle between these two figures. Now, if you guys don't recognize the heart pot here, we already know that this is the wishing jar, and these two might be Nino's parents. While we might not I think people who were either paying attention but don't know exactly, or were not paying attention at all, would not know that these two were actually Nino's parents, as these two are just the statues of very generic Roman statues. Unfortunately, their little tug of war of trying to go one direction or the other is basically causing too much destruction around the city. They really act that they should help people, right? Yeah, to be honest, you have to be safe around this, as well. For one thing, Nino and Aya are still technically watching, and they have to basically kind of pretend that they don't know what to do to each other, and that's kind of pretty hard. Also, I did not notice this, but Marinette's fox ears are on her ponytail, which is really weird, but in a cute way for some reason. I don't know what is this line that's on the back. Maybe it's a tail, but she already has a tail. I don't know. But I'm gonna say this before we continue on. I really do like Adrian's design much more better. There's nothing wrong with being super simplistic. I kind of like the simplistic look that both Pina and Rena Rouge had before Rena Rouge's redesign twice. But Adrian's hairstyle looks weird and kind of anime like that. I don't know. I just really like it. I like Adrian's design a bit better. So while both Adrian and Marinette were saving some people, they realized that they had to contact both Ladybug and Cat Noir somehow. So they both hide separately, of course, and detransform and then retransform into their original miraculous identities. Now, they did tell their quote unquote new Kwamis to go back to their original owners and have them help. Both Ladybug and Cat Noir were basically already there, and when they meet up, Cat Noir had a plan. Use Cataclysm. It destroys the jar and the chain, but unfortunately, it also destroys the two statues. Now, to be honest, it doesn't seem like Cat Noir was really that worried. I thought they actually killed two people. But apparently, if you destroy the jar and with the chain attached, and the people who are actually attached to the chain, they appear small, but then they regrow back to Titan size. So basically, it's just kind of a Sisyphus thing, and technically, they cannot die. They're always going to be reborn, stuck in this perpetual loop. After the Kwamis actually find their original owners, they both Nino and Aya ask where's Marinette and Adrian, or at least I think it's just Nino. Both of them say that their owners are okay, and they're just here to give them the miraculous so they can help with Ladybug Cat Noir. Now the weird thing is that Nino's the only one who actually transforms and goes to help. It makes sense in terms of the theme of the story, that it's up to Nino to actually help his parents. I'm just very confused why Aya did not transform and want to help too, but then again, Aya's powers are going to be pretty useless with this, unless of course she's actually trying to save people using her illusions. We don't know what she's doing in the background after this moment. We do see Nino's transformation, and I gotta say, while his transformation sequence is the most unique out of all the Miraculous, like in the earlier parts of the series, they actually did much more effort on this and make him go all out with the breakdancing, and I really like that. It's about the same but more dynamic, angles and more speed, coolness, radical, cowabunga. Nino finally tells, both Ladybug and Cat Noir about the situation. When I say finally, I'm technically saying that, finally for us, the audience, that Nino finally told someone about it. But yeah, whatever the case is, Ladybug already knows an idea, as she gonna have to use this anchor to anchor them down somewhere. Also telling Carapace to use shelter on the jar once it hits the ground, as that way it will not move anymore, and it won't cause so much more destruction. So Cat Noir can Cataclysm it when the chains are got rid of. With Cat Noir using Cataclysm to actually, make the ground unstable on the man's side, and Ladybug using the anchor to trip up the other Titan. Nino used shelter around the pot just as planned, and both of the Titans are trying to pull the chain, but realize that they're both actually stuck with the jar actually not moving. Cat Noir asks, "What now?" Both Ladybug and Carapace say that they should wait, as currently right now, the only people who can actually help both of them is themselves. I don't know, I think I just kind of ruined that moment, god damn it. Both the Titans realize that they're both kind of stuck with this chain. Took them long enough. And then both the male and female statues just kind of look towards each other, and they already know what to do. I'm going to speed past this a bit, because while this scene is like, wow, they got to the solution pretty quickly already, which is kind of good. They walk up towards each other, show their backs to each other, one at a time, and remove the chain. After they remove the chain, they turn back around from each other and walk their separate ways. Since the chains are unconnected from the two Titans, Cat Noir uses Cataclysm finally to destroy the giant jar, and they found the little jar. Ladybug actually breaks the jar, telling both Carapace and Cat Noir to catch the people that are going to be falling soon. And don't worry, as usual, they do catch them, and Ladybug basically uses MiraculousLadybugs to fix everything and all the mess that the Titans created. After that, both of them got rescued, meet up at the middle, and Marinette basically giving both of them the same charms to protect them and remind them to, talk things out calmly. That's kind of basically what it is. And of course, Carapace has their wishing jar, kind of just giving them a very pleased, hopeful look to them. Kind of trying to tell them please work things out. They both look at each other, and they both realize that yes, this is this is the perfect time. We should try to talk things out and discuss things calmly. And that's kind of what they do when they get back home. They just will discuss what they would do with the wishing jar and for the rest of their lives. We cut back to Aya and Nino in the next day. Nino is telling Aya the truth that he hates strawberries, but Aya doesn't mind as long as they don't hide things from each other. Here we go again with Aya's talk like that. I'm just kidding. At this point, it makes sense. It makes sense, right? It's good to actually tell people the truth, especially if that thing you don't really like. If you really like, if you don't like the same things, that's okay. It's kind of about it. I'm really mixed up my words, as because it's kind of very weird to say, as I got a problem with Aya, at least for this season. But what she says here is fine. I just get a chuckle out of it when she actually says stuff like that. Because we already know what will happen when she actually heard a truth that she doesn't want to hear. As long as we tell each other everything, at least in the terms of both of these two together, yeah, that's very much a very good lesson to learn. Specifically about the strawberries for this one. I don't know why. But I guess family troubles? You can always talk with your, significant other if you need. So both of them came up and asked if everything's good at home. Specifically to Nino, right? It makes sense. Nino does have some bad news. Even with everything being fine and dandy right now from yesterday, unfortunately, his parents decided to split up. Adrian was pretty sad that his parents are not going to be living with each other anymore because, technically speaking, he knows the feeling. But Nino reassures Adrian that he's actually pretty happy for the first time in, well, years. He's happy because the house is just now calm, peaceful, and quiet. Not just loud anger and shouting every single day. And to be honest, I feel like a lot of us could relate to Nino about that. But Nino also says is that while his parents are not going to be living together anymore in the apartment, there is some good news. For one thing, Nino and his little brother are going to take a 2-week trip with their dad. And then, after those 2 weeks, they'll go to visit their grandparents with their mom. And that's pretty much good. And it'll be something like this. And both the parents will, while divorced, they will discuss a lot of things, not argue, just discuss about the things that they want to do with the children. And that's good enough for Nino. As long as they're just, talking normally to each other, just discussing things in a calmly manner, just never gonna try to shout and argue. And since they're getting along pretty well right now, yeah, he's pretty much content. He is deep down still sad that the fact that both his parents are not divorced. But to be honest, he knows that it might just be the right thing for the whole family, honestly. Not to be continuously living in a family with major issues. Let's just put it that way. Of course, with that all gone down, Nino does actually want to ask the question, will these two want to be their stand-ins? Both Marinette and Adrian say no. It's not really their thing. And to be honest, we already know why. But Nino agrees with their, decision that they're already perfect for each other. Unfortunately, I can only get a dark screenshot for this. It's close enough for some reason. For some reason, it's just this dark by the time I got this screenshot. So yeah, I'm sorry. But I do think I got a thumbnail that basically shows this pretty brightly if I decide to use it. We do get a post-credit scene. I mean, a pre-credit scene just after that little, that little shot there. So yeah, just having like both of these two here, and Marinette just like saying that maybe stand-ins are okay. But Katnor's reason being like, I think it's like a better idea not to because I don't wish that responsibility to anybody. That makes sense. And that's basically it for the episode. It's a bit quick because it is quick. I feel like this episode can be very relatable for a lot of people with at least like parents arguing or dysfunctional families. I feel like if you wear Nino's shoes at one time, and yeah, I do understand where he's coming from, and it is pretty hard to actually talk about it sometimes. But yeah, I don't think I want to say too much as I don't want to take another like hard for me to explain or talk like the last review. So I'll kind of keep it at there. But this episode did a pretty decent job, pretty good job at showing at least a dysfunctional family. It is just for kids, of course, but I feel like this example is pretty much relatable and it's a good thing that we didn't go to a specific type of niche in terms of this type of topic. So I think they actually pretty handle it pretty well, and of course how Nino kind of deals with it if you are there for if you've been dealing with it for a few years already. I say I'll give this episode maybe a decent 8 out of 10. It's a pretty good episode. That's kind of about it. My name's Sampo. I'll see you guys at the season finale. Hopefully the English version comes out. If not, just wait for like maybe 1 or 2 days after its release. See you then.